afectadas. Firelands está trabajando en las condiciones de vivienda. ¿Nos puedes compartir un poco acerca de este tema y cómo es que afecta a la comunidad inmigrante?
Sí, se escucha. Gracias. Sí, este es un tema muy importante porque es nuestro hogar donde llegamos, donde llegan nuestros hijos, las familias a descansar. De la manera que nosotros identificamos, aparte de que lo que vimos por encimita fue porque nos organizamos y fuimos a tocar puertas. Y no fueron solo en el condado de Grace Harbor, tocamos puertas en muchos condados, llegamos a venir acá a Convening. Y ahí cuando tú ves a las personas, no solo lo que escuchas, que sabemos que se escucha, que se vive mal, que hay muy en los hogares, que las rentas están muy caras, disculpa. Algo muy rápido porque traigo fuego, me emociono. Lo sabemos porque lo escuchamos, pero el momento que tú tocas una puerta, las familias que abren y tú ves las condiciones que viven, es cuando dices, no, yo voy a continuar en la lucha, y no solo por mí, sino por mí, por la comunidad y por todas las familias atrás. Es muy triste ver a esas personas de las que nos dábamos cuenta que pagaban renta y no podían dormir en sus cuartos. Esa es una de las historias que vivimos y miramos ahí. Vivían en la sala amontonados porque su cuarto no tenía condiciones para vivir ahí. Entonces es muy triste eso y decimos, ¿por qué dónde está el dinero? ¿Por qué vivimos en esas condiciones cuando somos familias trabajadoras? Pagamos nuestros taxes, ¿a dónde llegan esas ayudas? Pero las familias te daban una sonrisa al decir, wow, te miraban como una esperanza. Como hay alguien aquí que le preocupo, que mi familia le preocupa. Entonces, Firelands, hemos estado tocando muchísimas puertas, hablando sobre esas condiciones, y no solo dijeran, les suben la renta, sin control de renta, las condiciones que viven son muy, muy pobres, muy mal, y los hijos se enferman. Entonces, ya está atentando el lugar no solo por lo económico, sino que también con la salud de nuestros hijos, de las familias, de las personas mayores. Es lo que estamos haciendo. En este año estamos regresando a tocar puertas también con otro énfasis. Sin embargo, seguimos viendo esas necesidades y tristemente quiero comentar que ayer regresó uno de los lugares que tocamos puertas y me dio mucha tristeza de ver a una persona que hasta salud mental le está afectando eso. Todo eso te afecta lo que es tocando puertas y Fireland. Lo que me gusta es que tocamos también puertas, que no contamos a las personas como números. Hicimos un número de que no encontramos tantas familias. Las personas son familias y nosotros también somos multirraciales, entonces todos somos unos aquí.
Sí, muchas gracias Noemi por ese trabajo y en lo que están viendo en Firelands demostrando que las condiciones ambientales, cómo afecta a uno, a las comunidades, a la salud, como mencionaste, y también es algo que justamente la organización Comunidades está enfocando en lo del medio ambiente. Eduardo, ¿nos puedes compartir acerca de la importancia de unir la lucha para justicia?
A este grupo realmente importante de nuestras comunidades, que son los que recolectan toda la información, ¿verdad? Y la convierten en acción en nuestras comunidades, es algo muy importante. Nosotros en comunidades trabajamos en lo que es una palabra nueva que uno aprende, ¿verdad? Los lenguajes van avanzando y ahora hay intersección, interseccionalidad. Bueno, nosotros llamamos la conexión entre la justicia social y la justicia ambiental. Yo fui contratado hace cerca de 7 años por una organización que se llama Columbia River People para empezar a organizar a la comunidad latina para proteger los derechos del río Columbia y asegurar agua limpia y saludable para las comunidades. Un movimiento del medio ambiente, ¿verdad? Protección del agua. Cuando yo empecé a hacer este trabajo, empecé a juntar a muchos miembros de la comunidad. Teníamos reuniones de 20, 25 personas cada 2 semanas para hablar sobre cómo proteger el río Columbia. En estas conversaciones, la gente empezó a preguntar, muy mal, muchos nunca se habíamos preguntado así. Podemos hablar de los derechos que nos afectan como trabajadores, como cómo esa relación conectarla con nuestra comunidad. Un ejemplo muy claro son los pesticidas, ¿verdad? Nosotros, como organización del medio ambiente en ese tiempo, cuando trabajaba para Columbia River, pues estamos abogando para que dejen de usar los pesticidas, porque usan pesticidas en el bosque, las huertas usan pesticidas, y nosotros en las casas usamos pesticidas. Entonces, esos pesticidas afectan la vida animal y de insectos, ¿verdad? El salmón se ve afectado porque esos químicos que usan para los pesticidas, pues eventualmente no todos se destruyen y se filtran al agua, ¿verdad? Y llegan al río y afectan el ciclo de vida de los salmones, afectan a las abejitas, ¿verdad? Y una de las cosas que yo siempre hago énfasis, afectan a la mariposa monarca, que es el símbolo del inmigrante, es nuestro símbolo y tenemos que abogar por estos animalitos que nos representan, ¿verdad? Pero también, si nos podemos hablar con el trabajador del campo, le decimos, oye, vete a apoyarnos para que no contaminen más el agua, el trabajador del campo te va a decir, ¿por qué el agua y no a mí? ¿Verdad? Porque esos problemas que son ambientales se tornan en justicia social para nuestra comunidad, donde tenemos los trabajadores que son expuestos a los pesticidas, ya sea que porque los aplican o trabajan en las huertas y se ven expuestos a estos químicos directamente. Estos químicos producen problemas de salud crónicos para los trabajadores e inclusive sus hijos empiezan a desarrollar problemas de salud crónicos desde que nacen. Estos niños van a tener problemas de salud toda la vida. Entonces, en torno a la justicia social, ¿por qué? Porque eso tiene un efecto dominó. Cuando ellos ya no pueden pagar el médico, están enfermos, dejan de trabajar, ya no ganan más dinero, tienen que empezar a recurrir a los servicios sociales. Mucha de nuestra comunidad no tiene documentos y no puede demandar los servicios por los que ha contribuido mientras trabaja. Porque todos sabemos que en este país todos pagamos impuestos. Entonces, nosotros lo que estamos trabajando bastante es en hacer esa conexión con nuestra comunidad de la justicia ambiental y la justicia social tienen que ser atendidas al mismo tiempo, ¿verdad? Yo uso esta analogía todo el tiempo y esta analogía es de un cuerpo con dos heridas. Si tenemos un cuerpo con dos heridas, vamos a tratar nada más una y nos esperamos a la otra a que se cure una y después la otra no, ¿verdad? Tenemos que atacar las dos heridas al mismo tiempo, porque si no, una se va a infectar, va a tener más problemas. Lo mismo sucede con la justicia social y la justicia ambiental. Nosotros no podemos cerrar el ojo a una u otra. Tenemos que desarrollar habilidades en nuestra comunidad para poder diversificar nuestras voces y abogar por la protección del medio ambiente y abogar por los derechos de los inmigrantes o los derechos de la comunidad en general, los derechos de justicia social. Entonces, es algo que nosotros estamos trabajando bastante y hemos de una u otra forma sido exitosos, pero eso no tenemos que expandir a otras comunidades, ¿verdad? Tenemos que amplificar esas voces donde realmente tengamos las plataformas y el poder para poder hacer impacto en nuestros representantes en nuestras comunidades. Y esa es una pequeña porción de lo que es el trabajo que hacemos y el trabajo que muchos de ustedes hacen también, ¿no? Que está todo relacionado. Interseccionalidad es una de las palabras que se usa mucho para describir esto, pero para nosotros es la conexión. Gracias.
And now I'm switching back to English for our speakers. So, as Osvaldo and Noni shared, while others do not have to deal with these issues. And in similar ways that this violence of economic destruction and inequality impact on at the most individual and smallest level, interpersonal violence and domestic violence that happens on the individual level also reverberates out to impact the community at large. Ousman, your organization has been focusing on raising awareness and addressing the issue of domestic violence in the West African community. Can you please share
existence, but especially in our communities. Why we picked it up is the fact that it is so important, it is in existence, and our community members that are affected primarily did not even know that they are going through it to a great extent. There are different types of domestic violence that the community didn't know and are going through. But as they come to seek services through the conversations we have, we've seen families being torn apart. We've seen kids being taken away from their parents. One of the services that we provide at the Washington West African Center is language access, interpretation and translation, because the West African languages, and in fact this is the basis and premises of it. West African languages are not written. There are 16 countries in West Africa, our languages are not written. So oftentimes we get a request for interpretation through the courts, through the healthcare system. And most of the cases we deal with, we go to interpret were domestic violence related cases. Families come here because of undocumented status of the parents, the type of work that they are able to do, or sometimes they can't even work, money is tight, a lot of chaos, commotions, fighting between parents, who end up becoming the victims for the most part of the case. And because there was no data at the back of this thing, last year we partnered with the University of Washington School of Public Health to actually do a research study on domestic violence status of the West African community. And you'll be surprised how people came up, especially women, to talk about the issues that they encounter, the challenges that they are going through. Our research study shows that it is in existence in our community and that we need to rally behind the community, organize ourselves, change laws, do outreach, raise awareness, and inform our community about the menace that is breaking us apart. I know you will come to the strategies in a little bit. Thank you.
Thank you so much for doing that. And yeah, really highlighting as well that in a situation that affects a family, affects the individual children, it can also affect everyone else around them, the entire community around them, and how that continues on through the different cycles of really interact with each other. While others don't have to deal with these issues. And in similar ways that this violence of economic destruction and inequality impact on at the most individual and economic level, interpersonal violence and domestic violence that happens on the individual level also reverberates out to impact the community at large. Ousman, your organization has been focusing on raising awareness and addressing the issue of domestic violence in the West African community. Can you share why it has been important for you to focus on that work?
Thank you very much, Vanessa. I thank you all. I want to recognize Ousman for putting together this panel and picking this wonderful topic that affects our communities collectively. Domestic violence is real, it's in existence, but especially in our communities. Why we picked it up is the fact that it is so important, it is in existence, and our community members that are affected primarily did not even know that they are going through it to a great extent. There are different types of domestic violence that the community didn't know and are going through. But as they come to seek services through the conversations we have, we've seen families being torn apart. We've seen kids being taken away from their parents. One of the services that we provide at the Washington West African Center is language access, interpretation and translation, because the West African languages, and in fact this is the basis and premises of it. West African languages are not written. There are 16 countries in West Africa, our languages are not written. So oftentimes we get a request for interpretation through the courts, through the healthcare systems. And most of the cases we deal with, we go to interpret, were domestic violence related cases. Families come here because of undocumented status of the parents, the type of work that they're able to do, or sometimes they cannot even work, money is tight, a lot of chaos, commotions, fighting between parents, who end up becoming the victims for the most part of the case. And because there was no data to back up this thing, last year we partnered with the University of Washington School of Public Health to actually do a research study on domestic violence status of the West African community. And you'll be surprised how people came up, especially women, to talk about the issues that they encounter, the challenges that they are going through. Our research study shows that it is in existence in our community and that we need to rally behind the community, organize ourselves, change laws, do outreach, raise awareness, and inform our community about the menace that is breaking us apart. I know you will come to the strategies in a little bit. Thank you.
Thank you so much for doing And yeah, really highlighting as well that in a situation that affects a family, affects the individual children, it can also affect everyone else around them, the entire community around them, and how that continues on through the different cycles of when they interact with each other. Individual level and community level all affect each other and cause chaos and harm. Can you tell us why getting immigration agents out of schools in Spokane was important, not just for the safety and well-being of individual students, but the larger community that you live in Spokane?
Yeah, thank you. English, Spanish, English.
You can speak in Spanish.
Okay. Bueno, primero, thank you for having me here. My respect to Ousman and all the staff. I'm happy to work with you all. So yes, we were working with the school district. So I want to say working. We've been keeping the school district accountable since 2018 because we've seen so many Border Patrol officers going in to read to students, to recruit students, be part of their events, and this causes a lot of impact and emotional impact and trauma to not only immigrant students, but to everybody else who's participating. When we got calls about there was Border Patrol agents that were reading to 5-year-olds in a kindergarten class, the next day we heard about this from parents, and parents pulled their students out. And when students get pulled out of a classroom, that disrupts the entire classroom. But I mean, imagine the parents that are living with this and they know that Border Patrol is right next to their kids. There's a lot of emotional impact. Some people immediately moved, they got out of the school district. So it causes a lot of impact, but I also want to highlight that it causes impact to the students who are building relationships there, who already are connected to their school, and we're having that stability. It comes in and it completely disrupts. In this case, this most recent event happened at the Spanish immersion program. So you think, okay, this is a school that is actively promoting our language, our culture, but they're not in tune to the realities of the community that they're serving. They had no qualms about inviting in a Border Patrol officer to discuss immigration issues. They didn't think to bring in community agencies, lived experiences from immigrants. The first response was that. So we immediately thought, what was the teacher thinking? And then, what was everybody else thinking? Because it's not only the teacher, it's the person that buzzed in a fully armed Border Patrol officer. From the person that buzzed them in, through the teachers that saw them walking into the halls, to the classroom to talk. What is that person all going to talk about? Are they going to say that they're doing a good job of keeping people safe? I don't think they have a good track record, especially in Washington State. So in that, we learned of this incident, and we really wanted to talk to the entire school. That was really hard because you have to shift the mindset that they all thought this was okay because they have no reality of the families that they're serving. So immediately highlighting the disconnect of this being so tone deaf. And we did have undocumented students that were in that class. And I know their parents, and their parents immediately called me. I myself have my daughter in that school. And one of the things that was just astounding to me is we want to have a lot of diversity, right? And we want to bring in and welcome the language. And as an organization, we're being asked, please recruit your families to come here. And we thought it was a safe space. But when you have that disconnect from the people that you're actually serving in their lived experience, what it taught us is that they want the language, they want the diversity, but they don't really want the experience. They don't want to be held accountable. And that was one of the hardest things, was having to call them out, but then also call them in. And we learned that going with the staff and teachers, there was just so much repair, education, training that they needed, that we had to go again with the superintendent. The movement that we did there was to call out that we have been calling this, wanting to have Border Patrol out of the school district 81 since 2018, and the harms that it has caused. And why should we wait around anymore? They had a policy in place that was very fluffy, that was, oh, you know, they're not allowed, or they have to consult with the principal.
Wonderful, thank you so much for that, and for, I think you really highlighted the ways in which the impacts are from the individual level to the family and community, you know, our whole, everyone that we work with, but also the responsibility of responding and reacting and taking action lies within individual communities, you know, individuals within our community. And you have been talking a little bit about as well some of the ways in which you work with the school district and the staff there. Can you speak more to the other strategies that you have used to, you know, achieve this victory in getting, you know, the Spokane School District to officially ban immigration and contagious presence on campus, and yeah, what kind of those tactics and strategies are that you've used in the past, and are you thinking about using that for preparing communities, you know, in the threat of mass raids and deportations that we're hearing about nationally?
I guess I'll start by answering your question. Yes, and we all need to be actively involved because immigration raids, arrest, and next generation is happening right now. And it's not getting any better with the different administrations that we have on this. As far as strategies, what we did was we wanted to immediately talk to the teachers, the school principal, but to them it wasn't a big deal. It was like, oh, we're so sorry this happened. The principal wanted to call it out on the teacher and blame everybody else. And the teacher was very sorry. She was very stressed about having to talk to advocates because there was a lot of, a lot of unknown and change that was happening. So we wanted to work with the teacher to highlight other options that she could include into this teaching, because we did want the study to continue, right? We don't want to leave children with this very biased opinion about immigration and immigration, the immigration experience, right? Especially in Spokane, we have a large population of immigrants that keeps on growing, 1.5 different perspectives. Their response was just to shut down that learning lesson. So the lesson was done. It was like finished, and then we'll sweep it under the rug. And and that really did teach our kids about accountability. But what happens when you don't address harm is that it creates stress in the students, and it creates stress in the environment. So then the stressors started coming out to the kids, and the kids started talking to each other, and then they're hearing all these things, and from the media, and they were bringing that to the classroom. And we kept on telling the school district, we have to address this, we have to address repair, because otherwise, the harm is gonna continue, right? So again, we could not work at the school level, so we worked with the superintendent. And at that point, we've already stressed, we've been here, we've had this conversation. We were here in 2017, 2018, 2019, 2020, and we're documenting this, and you're not paying attention to this. So we went on and we did not want to ask permission. We demanded that they were gonna ban border patrol. And we went immediately to media. We started our own media campaign. We informed others' teachers. We informed other parents, and the parents were appalled because they didn't even know that this lesson was coming to their kids. They didn't know that border patrol would be present. And we started having those conversations at the community level with parents, teachers, community groups. And in 1 week, we gathered 786 signatures, and we had 24 organizations sign up for it. And we showed up, all of us, to the superintendent and to the school board meeting. And we didn't ask, we demanded. We had witnesses, we had people who testified, and it was a straight demand. We're gonna ban border patrol, but on top of that, we're gonna teach you how to work with our community. We're gonna educate your teachers, and we're gonna continue to work. This is a collaboration because we want what's best for our children. We don't want to just say, okay, school gets district size. In this case, in that day they did, right? But we wanted to continue on to do more repair with them. And what that taught us was there's immediate action that we can pull. And there's organizations that are starting to learn more. It wasn't only grassroots organizations, which I think all the other ones signed on board, thank you. Your impact really helped us pass that ban border patrol at the school district level. But organizations like SNAP, that usually are very neutral, they were on board with us, they were supporting us. So I would really recommend that you start building those relationships with all the organizations that are out here. There's a lot of people who don't want to see what happened in 2016 over again, and we need to educate them. We need to prepare them that these things continue to happen. Even though they're here in the media, they continue to have it, and we do need to pass policy to keep people safe. Because kids belong to they deserve to go to school. They deserve to feel like they belong in school. And schools need to be our safe spaces because teachers pick up so much on what's going on with our day-to-day lives. They can intervene in family violence, they can support families, they can be that additional support system. We need them there. We also need, particularly the few Spanish-speaking students that you have in the Spanish immersion program. How can you not think about how this made you feel? So, a lot of direct action, and I think at this point, on where we are, we're not asking permission, we need to demand this. And our next strategy is really to work with everyone, but we want to do this at the state level because we wanted to go next to the Cheney School District in Spokane Valley, and those areas are a little more conservative, and we were not going to get a lot of support there, so we don't want to bother going there. We just want to go at the state level that all border patrol should be banned from our school district, period.
Thank you, and congratulations on that win, and we are all definitely behind on making that happen statewide. And thank you for sharing such a clear roadmap of the specific tactics and strategies that you used at this local level and that we can take elsewhere. Speaking to the decision makers, informing the community, coming with receipts, and platicar un poco más acerca de qué significa y por qué toman esta estrategia de tocar puertas, hablar con la comunidad y cómo eso informa a todo el trabajo que hacen.
Sí, gracias. La estrategia de tocar puertas es también nada más como para conectar y escuchar de sus historias más que todo, de ver, decir, no están solos, estamos con ustedes, porque las personas nos sentimos solas, que pensamos que solo tenemos esta situación únicamente. Una de las respuestas es, wow, no estoy sola. Aparte de ahí, la estrategia también es porque los invitamos a que muchos de ellos ya son miembros de Fireland. Aparte de ser miembros con Fireland, les ayudamos a crecer su liderazgo, a quitar esas barreras. Yo soy una de ellas. Yo fui miembro casi por 5 años de Fireland, fui parte del comité directivo, pero yo no podía ver más allá de mi vida y de mi historia. Yo decía que si yo no tenía para la renta, yo no tenía para la comida, era mi problema, no de alguien más. Yo no miraba esa capa que el gobierno, los super ricos, los millonarios nos ponían aquí enfrente. Por más que yo asistía a las reuniones de Fireland donde nos educaban, yo no podía ver esa capa. Esta es la estrategia de verlos, ¿por qué estás parado ahí? ¿Qué sucede? ¿De dónde viene que no alcanza? Como saben, nosotros pagamos las familias trabajadoras un 14% de taxes, cuando los multimillonarios solo pagan un 4% de taxes. ¿Creen que es justo? No. Nosotros pagamos $14 de cada 100, ellos $4 de cada 100. ¿Eso es justo? No es justo. Si se pagara lo que se tiene que pagar, tendríamos todos, no hubiera tantos problemas, tuviéramos educación para nuestros hijos, las escuelas, los hogares. Entonces todo esto se le educa a las familias donde les tocamos puertas, los invitamos a participar como miembros y a educarse para tomar acción, para ir a la lucha, a un cambio, como nos presentamos con los legisladores con Whiting, trabajamos en colaboración en enero. Ahí estamos. La primera vez fuimos como 2 o 3 carros de las organizadoras. La vez pasada llenamos un bar. Esta vez queremos llegar 2 o 3 bases. Y eso es nada más, o veo lo que te sucede, ok, veo lo que te sucede y lo identifico, ahora yo estoy dispuesta a hacer para un cambio. Por eso le ponemos la acción de la manera de que Fireland está apoyando con el liderazgo y vamos por la lucha y vamos al cambio y estar presentes.
A la próxima nos vemos en Olimpia con the work of Wallach around domestic violence. You also do a lot of community outreach and education and trying to meet your community where it's at and centering how it impacts them directly. I know you spoke about language justice. What are some of the other ways in which you make sure that your organizing work is really focused and relevant to the community that you're speaking to?
Thank you. So, the issue of domestic violence, as we deal with it, we have both internal and external forces and challenges. And when I talk about internal, primarily focusing on within the community. For example, back when we grew up, our parents mostly disciplined us through corporal punishment. And we think it's normal and it's right. We bring that here. It was one of the bedrocks of domestic violence in the community that leads to families breaking apart. We have a member of the community whose kid peed on his prayer mat. He beat the kid up, had bruises and hurt him on the shoulders. The kid went to the school. The school found out, social workers, before we know it, all 3 kids were taken away from the family. They didn't know what was going on. We have women whose husbands bring them here, promise them the earth and the moon and the sky, but refuse to help them to even get the documentation to be documented. They want to continue to suppress them. They want to not, for them to not work, for the husband to be the only person providing for the woman, so that they will continue to be vulnerable. Wawa created these culturally appropriate interventions. The language access that I said, we chose 10 most spoken languages, the 10 most spoken languages in West Africa. We created outreach materials in these languages to educate the community about the types of domestic violence, the impact of domestic violence, and most importantly, to let them know that there exists an agency like the Washington West African Center who can provide them with the cultural relevant support that is customized to them. We are working with the Office of Crime Victim Advocacy, OCVA, with the Department of Commerce, who are, of course, our partners. We've had, when we were doing our research study on domestic violence, I had men call me and send me messages calling the agents of the government that we are being used to fight against our people, to break our families apart, which is unfortunate. These outreach materials in the form of songs, skits, translation of uniform messages, we partner with top artists back home to create songs, awareness songs. The latest one just came out 2 weeks ago, which is advocating against domestic violence. Now, still as part of the internal forces, culturally, we respect and value our seniors and religious leaders and rely on them to create awareness and resolve disputes and issues within the community and within families. This is a title that is given to the seniors and religious leaders by default, that they take on. A good number of them dedicate providing after training to be able to handle these things. Raised from a society where most women are suppressed, even when the man is wrong, they will listen and tell the woman, just bow down, or buy a collar, not buy a candy, and bow down in front of your husband and say, I'm sorry. Without knowing both sides of the story, we took it head on and have our traditional marriage and counseling, during which we empower the seniors and religious leaders, providing them with transportation, supporting them, and going with them to these places. In fact, we just moved to a new office, but at our old office we have a special unit that was for traditional marriage and counseling unit. People don't want to be stigmatized when dealing with these issues. As a result, a lot of people saw in the women that are going through domestic violence for fear of not wanting to be stigmatized, for fear of not knowing where they are going to go, decide to stay in violent relationships and not get out of it because they have no place to go, no food to eat, legal support, and this is where our comes in. If you are undocumented, you are not working, you don't have rental history, you don't have credit history, you don't have income, you cannot get housing. Wawa signed master leases with apartment complexes, especially in Shams County, and we are a statewide agency. We support people all the way across the state. We have these master leases where we put people. We have one that's going to domestic violence with her husband, and they have a beautiful baby. She was going around doing a lot of odd jobs and getting money under the table to take care of herself, but the husband left on the bench for her. She needed an attorney. We supported her to get an attorney. She needed a place to stay. We facilitated to put her in one of our housing units. She needs childcare. We try to hook her up with that. So we provide customized services based on people's needs that, most importantly, serve as advocates for them at different levels. When we are united as a community, we thrive. Another scenario where one of our community members was
killed at his apartment complexes. Law enforcement came, did everything, and already took away, the body. The family didn't know anything about the status of their son and what was happening. Through our intervention, we were able to find out the person who was responsible for the case, worked with them. They just after 3 days of doing autopsy or whatever they were doing, just came back to the family and said, if you don't pick up your body in 24 hours, we are going to cremate the body. It's not one of the things that we do. We wanted to give a vivid area to our community members. We talk to them, we engage them, and make sure that they give us time. We work with the community to make sure that eventually they follow all the necessary procedures, protocols, supporting them financially to pay for the burial arrangements and all the things. And these are some of the things that we're doing from housing, to provide them with food, to provide them with advocacy, and just the support that they need in any way, shape, or form to actually get out of this deep situation. But most importantly, creating awareness to bring families together and training the seniors and the religious leaders and people that are stakeholders in the fight against domestic violence. At different levels, if we talk about the outside forces at court, we go in there, we educate them. The language issue is so important to the community. And oftentimes, I remember here before last, we had a case where one of our community members was gone down, and the judge dedicated less than 30 minutes to do the hearing. The perpetrator and her parents were asking for her to be released from jail because they were claiming that it's going to have a big harm on the family. The parents talking about how much money they spent on video calls to see the person, and this was really open. The family invited us, and I was one of the people that gave a testimony. The judge that was ready to make a ruling within that, for that case that gave 30 minutes. After our intervention, when we mobilized the whole family, mobilized the entire community with our presence, and with the speech that I gave and told the judge that we are not going to let go of. Gone are the days when our communities will continue to be victimized and we don't get justice. With the intervention that we made, the judge had to change her mind to set it differently and do more research. And eventually, the ruling was in favor of the community. This just goes to show that if we work together as a people, we organize, we advocate, we raise awareness. I hear you talking about education. It is what led to what we are doing across the board and the spectrum in all different fields, subjects, and topics that we are dealing with that affect our community. Thank you.
Resources for them, you're investing into the development of your communities, into the investment of the well-being of family structures, and the information that you're sharing will help them, with the issue of domestic violence that they might be facing, but it's also empowering and educating them, and that obviously has impacts beyond that one specific thing. And yeah, the leadership development that really all of you have discussed is such an important tool for advocacy. And I know that when we done this, has also been having as a central focus of developing the folks that you work with into their leadership to address the issue around the Columbia River and the environmental impacts. Rosa, can you tell us more about the ways in which you focus on leadership development and investing in the community members to support the work of environmental justice?
So one of the things that we do at Comunidades is to find ways to communicate with our community, but also create different ways for our community to communicate. Because we are not all communicating the same way, right? We are not all want to participate in the same thing. So one of the things we have leadership trainings, civic engagement trainings, but also we have like a community journalism. So, and this is one of the things, like we do put a lot of effort to develop community journalism. So we are for some kind of trainings for our community to become community journalists. So, and this is one of the things that projects that start with and never end, because community journalism is a constant learning. And if we want to really have a good, effective community journalism team, we need to keep with that education, right? And this is one of the things we do a lot of these trainings in Spanish, because this is it's intentional, because we want to use people that people community and enhance the power of the language has, right? Do it in Spanish. The other thing that we do is to create spaces for community to enjoy the outdoors. So we live in agricultural community where people work in the orchards, and this is one of the stories I heard from one of the members of the community that I interviewed a couple years ago. And one of the things is, like, she was telling me that when she was 16, 17 years old, they started enjoying to go for hikes, right? Go to the mountains, different places. And her father always asked me, why did you go to so far away just to be between the trees? Just walk around the orchard, and you are, you know? And this is one of the things as a community, we can work and just work. We don't have leisure to participate. We need to be focused on working. So in order to change the mentality, it takes a lot of time and a lot of time and effort, right? So one of the things is we need to start with everybody in our community and start slowly showing the opportunities that we have as a members of the community to enjoy the outdoors. And one of the things is the only thing that you can protect something is if you know, if you have, if you are aware of it. So you cannot protect something if you don't know, right? So let's help people to fall in love with the environment, with the forest, with the environment that we live around. So this is one of the things that the things that we do around.
Thank you all for sharing some of these secrets to succeed in our local advocacy. And we are going to switch on to the Q&A and give the audience members some time to ask any questions, to engage in the conversation while we have it. And before we'll have an opportunity for them to share about any calls to action or things you want to leave. But we want to hear if there's any questions, if there's any hands.
Let me see your hands. I'm here to help. Más alto.
Or obstacle you found with community organizing, and what did you do to solve it? Thank you.
Oh, I can say in Spanish.
En Spanish, ¿qué fue la dificultad o hubo obstáculo para organizar la comunidad y qué fue lo que hicieron para sobrepasarlo? Gracias.
Piensa que si, aparte de educación, porque creen que no tenemos derechos. ¿Por qué? Porque nos están contando historias donde si tú sales y luchas por tus derechos, te va a dar inmigración, te vas a perder muchos otros derechos que puedes tener. Entonces, es el miedo. ¿Cómo lo estamos trabajando? Es dándoles la confianza, dándoles su espacio también de que, ok, te informamos, estos son tus derechos, puedes tener la confianza con nosotros, pero tienes tu tiempo. Y así es como miembros se han alejado un poco, pero regresan después con la misma confianza que se les da. Pero el miedo es muy grande de todas las comunidades. El miedo es muy grande de salir.
For our case, it's language access and the community's lack of awareness of the importance of organizing. And this is as a result of several reasons, most of which I already mentioned. Some of our community members, for example, are scared to participate in anything, even receiving services through us, which is one of the biggest challenges we have. People will often ask,
or would hesitate or distance themselves from us because they believe if they come to take the services we are providing for them, it's going to have a toll on them, their immigration status and all other things. So it's a big challenge. Having data to back it up, our arguments, is another challenge. Our people don't want to be stigmatized. Our people are scared. You ask somebody even for their needs, they think you're giving it for immigration. But we are working with the community, having outreach in our different local languages. Secondly, we are also collecting data. We just finished on the 6th of last month, we finished a new research study on the mental health status of the community. And as of 3 days ago, my team and I had a meeting and came up with a new study we want to do about the housing needs of the community. Because a lot of the services we provide, there was no data to back up these things. And as a result, data collection is one of the things that we are doing. Because with data, we will have authority to now be able to defend whatever it is that we are advocating for, that we are organizing towards. But another challenge too includes capacity. From the experience, the human resource, the finances, and everything that is needed to organize. It takes a lot to do community organizing. And I want to advise it because they always get the lead on a lot of issues and support organizations and institutions and that are actually trying to organize. And by working together, I think we can all collectively achieve a lot.
At the community organization, I think our main challenge was getting people to invest in us, other organizations to invest in us, because we were a Latino-led organization in Spokane County, and the majority of the people thought we weren't ready or we didn't have the experience. Even though we had lines of people that were from our community seeking our services, it was always hard to convince them. And we took some time to get funding and to get started, and it was us demanding again. It was us saying, hey, our community needs this. We are voicing for them. We are here. We did our own data to start out, because usually we would have to wait for other organizations to trickle down funds to us or to maybe help us out. And we reached a point where we decided we're not going to do that anymore. We're going to go for our own funding. We're going to create our own organization, and they're going to have to lead us, even though we are 100% Latino and immigrant-led. Because we know what's best for our community. So that took a couple of years. And even now we launched our own legal department. We now have an immigration attorney. We have our own DOJ accredited rep. And we are processing immigration cases. We launched this in July. It took us 2 years to get to that level because, again, a lot of legal funding or legal services didn't see it was worth investing in because we didn't have that track record. And there's a lot of established organizations that do have that track record. I call them season ticket holders because at every single grant cycle, they get the funds, right? We need to be able to get funds for BIPOC, community-led organizations so that we can start controlling and having that narrative and doing those direct services. And I learned this because of Brenda and because of my friends at Wiseman and with other groups that were like, no, you don't have to do these subcontracts because we were working at a very minimum level for a long time. So I really advocate for us to just go for it, and you know your community and you know what's best, and they need your services. And at the people level, it's the fear. Ahorita we have a lot of stigma with people that are coming in, and I don't know if you guys have seen the TikToks of the recién llegados, and it's this lateral oppression that I am better than you because I've been here longer, and we're facing that in our community. And I think, wow, we all got here. We haven't been here for 100 years. Some of us have been here for maybe 20, 30 years, but we're all recién llegados, And I think we need to do a lot of work around that narrative because that's how we're being separated, and then that's how opposition steps in, and that's why we have so many Latinos for Trump right now, right? Is they're seeing that they're getting into that scarcity model, and I think that's something that we should all be alarmed in because we are all recién llegados, and we should all help each other out, whether you arrived here a year ago or you arrived here 30 years ago. We can help each other because nobody should go through all that struggle, all that racism, all that opposition. We're
we are talking about the mentality about Cientegados, is that rooted in racism? Yes. Is that rooted in anti-queerness, anti-trans? Very much. Is that rooted in, you know, that scarcity that they're gonna come here and take my job? Yes, but we know that el sol sale para todos, and Washington State needs more immigrants. How we wanna be in 20 years with our economic development and advances, we need more immigrants. We need more people to work, we need more people here, and we need to process these asylum cases that we have right now. So DACA cases, you know, all the cases, so that people can be here, belong, and participate and live freely in Washington. And I think we can really do that.
We have one more person here.
Hello, everybody.
I actually have two.
Yeah.
So thank you very much for answering that question. It's very informative. I would like to ask specifically, in comunidades, you mentioned that you need to find ways to communicate, but you also need to find ways to communicate with each other, right? And you mentioned community journalists. Could you give a little bit more of like what that is for detail? And also, what is the effectiveness that you have found on that? And last question for everybody, what are some ways of communication that you guys have instilled within your organizations that's helped you push your goal?
Because after the pandemic, it was a lot of misinformation, right? It created a lot of chaos in the communities. So one of the things is for us, as members of the Latino community, we do not have access to true journalism. So all the information we have for the Latino community, it comes from Univision, Televisión, Televisa, which all those are corporate news, right? New York Times, Washington Post, all at the same pub, right? So we don't have any difference. So one of the things for us is to get people prepared to go outside and collect information from our communities. So it's from our community to our communities. So and one of the things that we start doing is to hire journalists to give those trainings. Like we are about to start a training for community journalism again. And we are partnering with another news organization in Portland. And they connect us with journalists. They are professional journalists, writers, and really experienced. And they are going to provide training for community. So we're going to do trainings in English and Spanish. And we are looking for teams of 10 to 15 people because we want to learn from it. So we don't want big groups. And we're going to go ahead and be accessible, like somebody is not close to the river or to the porch, they can do it online, they can do it over Zoom. So be flexible that way. So we have been successful. We have a lot of people volunteering. Right now we have a project in We're going to start in the next couple of weeks. But it has been really good to provide local, important information that matters to our communities. I hear about the word about fair in the communities. And personally, I disagree on that. I think fair is the result of lack of information. Racism is the lack of information. So what we need for our communities is to keep them informed, provide tools to keep them up to date on what's going on. So I don't see an immigrant community being fearful or weak. Let's think about, we all immigrants decide to move from one place to the next. Some of us, then we need to cross seas to come here. Some of other ones need to cross 3-4 borders to reach this country. That's not an action being taken by a fearful person. We are not here. We don't have fear. We are not weak. We need more information. That's what we need. We are communities that came here, learn the language, make money, send our kids to school, provide them with clothes, food, everything. So we are not weak. We are strong. We produce. We don't have fear. Because if we will be fair community, we will leave our communities. Because it takes a lot of courage. Who's gonna take their family from Ecuador, crossing 3-4 borders to get here? Do you think somebody who is fearful will do that? No. It's somebody who says, I'm tired, I'm strong, I wanna do it. I wanna take my family with me. Or I'm gonna do it myself, and then I'm gonna work hard, and then I'm gonna bring my family with me. So we are strong. We are not fearful. We need information. Information is power.
And I was brought here through Columbia Legal Services, but I'm gonna say that I'm here with, community, this question of as far as being anti-racist, organizing community. So I've had a personal relationship with Columbia Legal prior to becoming a staff person. So I've organized state level advocacy, local advocacy, schools, criminal justice, you name it. So, she's heard from us. My question to you all, when I think about organizing and advocacy, really thinking about the human experience. So I'm a descendant of stolen people brought to stolen land. So I don't check a box of being an immigrant, but a lot of the advocacy and the stories that you share, my community fully understands to present day. Whether we came here 400 years ago or 1,000 years ago, to present day, the human experience is very similar. So the question that I'm asking you, in your experience, in your advocacy, how are you working in solidarity? And my question is, how can we work in solidarity? Because stolen people brought to stolen land, and I would also say our indigenous people really understand the circumstances of being here in the United States. So working hard, doing all the things, and having access to information has not stopped the human experience that we share together for really melanated and I'll say Black people. So how is your organizing and advocacy connecting with the Black community so that we can share how these systems really work and how you navigate those systems, how you survive those systems, rather than us having separate systems. So there's some things I really can feel and I connect with folks who would like to know how are you connecting that so that Black and indigenous folks are still not being marginalized under the auspice of not being in. I would like all the panelists to.
Yes, from last week Thursday to Sunday, I was in Whidbey Island as part of the BIPOC ED coalition retreat that we had there. About 30 different executive directors, BIPOC executive directors, and we discussed things like this as part of the BIPOC ED coalition. My organization takes pride in partnership. I'm sitting on the Snohomish County Racial Equity Housing Advisory Board that provides advice to the county on housing-related matters. 2 weeks ago was the annual Nubian Jam Festival organized by the Snohomish County Black Heritage Committee, which we are a partner to. A lot of the work that the Black organizations in the county and BIPOC organizations organize do invite our organization either to serve as signatories, to join the petitions, to attend meetings, hearings, etc. I mean, YC is another partner that we are constantly working with. So at our level, we are constantly reaching out, but also accepting the invitation of other organizations and championing different agendas that we all collectively share together. I cannot agree with you any better that we are all one people. And one of my favorite sayings to my people that have a common interest is that if two elephants fight, it's the grass that suffers. And it's very important that at this minute we all put our differences aside and look at our collective interests and work together towards achieving those goals. If we really want to conquer the enemy, if we really want to be successful at what we do. Instead of all of us having PhDs and pulling each other down on a regular basis, we can actually build on each other's strengths, support one another, and that way we can thrive collectively. So my organization is working collectively across the state with different BIPOC organizations, but especially African American-led organizations, C3, Community Support Coalitions, there are not about so many of them that we are working with to kind of, build on each other's strengths and support one another. Thank you.
Thank you. For Latinos in Spokane, I think one thing we really try to do is work directly with the Convening Center in Spokane and really highlight the beloved community and how these people that Martin Luther King shared with us. Sometimes I recently read one of the books, I can't remember the titles, but it was Where Do We Go From Now? Chaos or Community, and it was from the 1960s, and I'm reading it, and I'm like, this is now. I feel like I'm in it, and I'm sure we can all feel like we're in it because we're reliving the evils, right? The poverty, and also reliving militarism. So for us, Border Patrol is part of that militarism that we see in communities that is tied directly to police interactions, and how one person gets stopped for a traffic violation, and then they immediately call Border Patrol for interpretation. And thanks to the work that we've done with Wyson and ACLU, that doesn't happen in Washington State, but we're only a few miles away from the Idaho border, and that's completely different. So if you have a broken tail out and you're brown, driving around, driving black, it's a real experience in Idaho. We're trying to fight that. So tying those intersections is really important because that's where we can really build and share solidarity and act on how these impacts are really impacting both communities, and that is a fight that we need to get to. Another way that we're showing up and we are working with the Black community in Spokane, well, Spokane County I should say, is through the Blake law that went into place to decriminalize drug possessions. So our legal department, Poder Legal, is working with legal cases, decriminalization, driver's relicensing, and this week we created a partnership with the Way to Justice in how we can start these decriminalization efforts, because when you are an immigrant, you have both of the levels, right? So if I'm caught with drug possession, I have these charges here from the state, and in addition to that, that impacts my immigration. So we really want to highlight that these issues are happening. We do need to decriminalize. When the marijuana stores look like Apple stores, and there's so many white businesses that are profiting from the impacts that our communities have faced, immigrant and Black communities. We've been locked up for too long on this, and I include myself and my family, because we have had that experience. And we need to create decriminalization and reparations for those people who have had to serve their sentence. So the Blake law, I ask everybody to really get informed, because right now, if a person has had personal drug possessions and they've had charges for that, you can now request to have those fees that you paid, whether it was court fees, showing up with your probation officer, going to pay your drug test, all of that is going to be reimbursed to the person that was impacted, thanks to the Blake law that passed over 2 years ago. So we've seen families that have been reimbursed $20,000, $30,000, and you know what? The courts don't need that money because they don't know what to do with that money. And the other thing I really want to mention is we not only need to be paying attention to how many people are in prison. What is the ratio of the Black community and the brown community that is in prison right now? Why is there this huge disparity? And why is Washington State paying $65,000 a year to keep one person locked up? What can we do for one family, one individual with $65,000 a year? Instead, we're separating families, we're putting people away, we're locking them up, and there's no repair. And the harm continues, because when one family leaves, whether it's mom, dad, uncle, that impacts the entire family unit, and then it also impacts the entire community.
So we're losing people. We're losing people to this prison system, this militarization system, and we do need to work in solidarity. And we do not need to be paying $65,000 a year to keep people in prison. We need to advocate for more restorative justice practices that need to be implemented into the courts. Because you are brown, because you're black, because you're a person of color, because you have personal drug possessions, addictions, you name it. Like, locking people up is not the solution. They're only going to create more harms, and when they leave out of prison, what is their chances of being able to get a home, a job, advance? It's impossible. We need to stop creating these barriers. So thank you for bringing that question up, and I really think that everybody here needs to pay attention to that, because that's our money, y'all. We can do better.
All right, we have one more, last word.
Oh, like all the panels too.
Yes, from last week Thursday to Sunday, I was in Whitby Island as part of the BIPOC ED Coalition retreat that we had there. About 30 different executive directors, BIPOC executive directors, and we discussed this like this as part of the BIPOC ED Coalition. My organization takes pride in partnership. I'm sitting on the Snohomish County Racial Equity Housing Advisory Board that provides advice to the county on housing-related matters. 2 weeks ago was the annual Nubian Jam Festival organized by the Snohomish County Black Heritage Committee, which we are a partner to. A lot of the work that the black organizations in the county and BIPOC organizations organize do invite our organization either to serve as signatories, to join the petitions, to attend meetings, hearings, etc. YC is another partner that we are constantly working with. So at our level, we are constantly reaching out, but also accepting the invitation of other organizations and championing different agendas that we all collectively share together. I cannot agree with you any better that we are all one people. And one of my favorite sayings to my people that have a common interest is that if two elephants fight, it's the grass that suffers. And it's very important that at this minute we all put our differences aside and look at our collective interests and work together towards achieving those goals. If we really want to conquer the enemy, if we really want to be successful at what we do. Instead of all of us having PhDs and pulling each other down on a regular basis, we can actually build on each other's strengths, support one another, and that way we can thrive collectively. So my organization is working collectively across the state with different BIPOC organizations, but especially African-American-led organizations, C3, Community Support Coalitions, there are not about so many of them that we are working with to kind of, build on each other's strengths and support one another. Thank you.
Thank you for Latinos in Spokane. I think one thing we really try to do is work directly with the Convening Center in Spokane and really highlight the beloved community and how these people that Martin Luther King shared with us. Sometimes I recently read one of the books, I'm terrible with titles, but it was Where Do We Go From Now? Chaos for Community, and it was from the 1960s, and I'm reading it, and I'm like, this is now. I feel like I'm in it, and I'm sure we can all feel like we're in it, because we're reliving the evils, right? The poverty, and also reliving militarism. So for us, Border Patrol is part of that militarism that we see in communities that is tied directly to police interactions, and how one person gets stopped for a traffic violation, and then they immediately call Border Patrol for interpretation. And thanks to the work that we've done with Wyson and ACLU,
that doesn't happen in Washington State, but we're only a few miles away from the Idaho border, and that's completely different. So if you have a broken tail out and you're brown, driving while brown, driving while black, it is a real experience in Idaho. We're trying to fight that. So tying those intersections is really important because that's where we can really build and share solidarity and act on how these impacts are really impacting both communities, and that is a fight that we need to get to. Another way that we're showing up and we are working with the Black community in Spokane, well, Spokane County I should say, is through the Blake law that went into place to decriminalize drug possessions. So our legal department, Poder Legal, is working with legal cases, decriminalization, driver's relicensing, and this week we created a partnership with the Way to Justice in how we can start these decriminalization efforts, because when you are an immigrant, you have both of the levels, right? So if I'm caught with drug possession, I have these charges here from the state, and in addition to that, that impacts my immigration. So we really want to highlight that these issues are happening. We do need to decriminalize. When the marijuana stores look like Apple stores, and there's so many white businesses that are profiting from the impacts that our communities have faced, immigrant and Black communities. We've been locked up for too long on this, and I include myself and my family, because we have had that experience. And we need to create decriminalization and reparations for those people who have had to serve their sentence. So the Blake law, I ask everybody to really get informed, because right now, if a person has had personal drug possessions and they've had charges for that, you can now request to have those fees that you paid, whether it was court fees, showing up with your probation officer, going to pay your drug test, all of that is going to be reimbursed to the person that was impacted, thanks to the Blake law that passed over 2 years ago. So we've seen families that have been reimbursed $20,000, $30,000, and you know what? The courts don't need that money because they don't know what to do with that money. And the other thing I really want to mention is we not only need to be paying attention to how many people are in prison. What is the ratio of the Black community and the brown community that is in prison right now? Why is there this huge disparity? And why is Washington State paying $65,000 a year to keep one person locked up? What can we do for one family, one individual with $65,000 a year? Instead, we're separating families, we're putting people away, we're locking them up, and there's no repair, and the harm continues, because when one family leaves, whether it's mom, dad, uncle, that impacts the entire family unit, and then it also impacts the entire community. So we're losing people. We're losing people to this prison system, this militarization system, and we do need to work in solidarity. And we do not need to be paying $65,000 a year to keep people in prison. We need to advocate for more restorative justice practices that need to be implemented into the courts. Because you are brown, because you're Black, because you're a person of color, because you have personal drug possessions, addictions, you name it. Like, locking people up is not the solution. They're only going to create more harms, and when they leave out of prison, what is their chances of being able to get a home, a job, advance? It's impossible. We need to stop creating these barriers. So thank you for bringing that question up, and I really think that everybody here needs to pay attention to that, because that's our money, y'all. We can do better.
I'm 18 years old, and I'm the 2024-2025 Miss Yak of the Nation. My parents are Marie and Cecil Jackson. My maternal grandparents are Audrey and Peter Joe Only. My paternal grandparents are the late Mona Val and the late Adrian Jackson Sr. My three sisters are Jody, Olive, and Sarah Jackson. My dogs are Oreo, the late Oreo, Lex, and Grizzly. I'd like to say that I'm very thankful to be here and for inviting us and my people here to represent our tribes. And I feel very thankful to be here today, and I hope you guys all take all this dancing into your heart to heal yourselves. So when you leave here, you guys leave with a good heart and not a bad one. So I hope you enjoy our performance. Thank you.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Mr. Leon Thompson, and we are Travel Life Productions in Northwest Medicine, and we're going to start the season with the grand entry, bringing all the dancers. So if you could please rise for the grand entry. Thank you.
Rina, just use this. You all right? You don't see.
You may sit down. Thank you for that. Let's give it for Northwest Medicine right here in the house. In the Apollo Circuit today, this will be their women's short prints and women's embroidery traditional style dance. All right. Let's do that one more time for our women's now. style dance and the men's chicken style as well.
Dance on the French style.
And also research the language of the contract to make sure that I is not the relevant or will also bring the future great organizing and I have the privilege to meet with me, African American 2 years back and life so quick, we're here very proud and very happy to be part of such a wonderful team. So anyway, there's so much for the video. We will be having Ousman, the executive director from the West African Center, company Immigrant, so thank you so much for having us. And yeah, so I'll pass the mic over to
Thank you so very much. Good evening once again. What I like most is the dinner. It's so good. I see everybody there enjoying themselves. So 2 years ago, we were here in the same spot for the Washington Immigrant Relief Fund Conference, WARF, which was a great event that we had here. Who was here then? Who was here for the WARF conference? Exactly. That was a great event we had here. When we were coming, we brought along the drums. We had some after-party events. You I'm not sure if any of you is privileged to see Brenda dancing. She is an amazing dancer. We had a great time here, different entertainment and performances, and I just decided to bring the djembes along. At the Washington West African Center, we have our gallery of traditional musical instruments and fabrics that people come to actually look at. If you ever come to Linwood area or you want to come and take a tour of the gallery, you are welcome to. So the djembe drum is one of the different traditional musical instruments from Africa. We have the koras, we have the halams, we have the balafons, and if you come to the Sounds of Africa Festival on the 17th, you will have the opportunity to see people performing. So this is just an introduction. I want to have it as a drum circle. I only brought 2 djembes. I need somebody to play with me. Who wants to come and play? You don't have to be an expert. I'll show you. Who wants to play with me? I need a volunteer. Come on. Wonderful. Give it up for her. Clap for her. There you go. Yes. So we will learn here to be safe drivers. We are all rushing to the Wysin Convening in Topenish. I'm in a hurry, but we just need to stay in our lanes. If you stay in your lane and I stay in my lane, we will have a wonderful rhythm. But at some point, I'm going to change lane. Once you change lane, we are going to crash. Okay. You know how to follow directions, right? So this is your lane. Oh my God. Okay. Pick up the drum like this. Yes. And this is your lane. Together. Now we'll go both hands. That's your lane, so you stay there, right? I'm rushing to get to the convening in so I'm going to change lanes and you stay there, right? I'll see if you are good. Listen, You good? Can I change? Can I change lanes? You good? Oh, you following me. You following me. Stay in your lane. That's your lane. That's your lane. Stay in your lane, right? Can I change? Can I change? No. I'm gonna change it. You stay there, right? If you look at what I'm doing, it's gonna confuse you. So just look what you're doing, right? Don't look at what I'm doing. You good? Stay there. It's just that easy. That's what you're doing. Just don't look at what I am doing. Just stay there, right? There you go. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2. That's what you're doing. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2. Good? Stay there. You are not doing what I'm doing. Who else wants to try? Good job. Come on. Give it up for her. What's your name? Gabby. Clap for Miss Gabby. Let me have another volunteer. Okay. Thank you, Miss Gabby. Thank you. Thank you. Yes. Right? What's your name? Adriana, we are heading to the convening. Yeah. And hold the drum like this. For you to have the best sound, you have to tilt it like this so that there's air underneath. This is made of goat skin together with mahogany wood. It's all handmade. I brought this from Africa when I went back sometime last year. There you go.
tres, cuatro. Let me hear everybody. Uno, dos, tres, cuatro. Can you sing along? Uno, dos, tres, cuatro. Can I hear you sing along? Uno, dos, tres, cuatro. You did it. Who else wants to try? Thank you.
Thank you.
You did a great job.
Yes.
Come on. Whoever wants to try, come on. There you go. There you go. Nice. And your name again?
Deborah.
Deborah.
Sí.
Deborah. Give it up for Deborah. Deborah, let's do it. Pick up the drum in between your thighs. Together. Now both hands. There you go. Stay in your lane, Deborah. You know how to stay in your lane? We'll have a nice harmony. If you want to dance, come on to the front. Let me have some dancers. Let us go. Sorry. Thank you, Deborah. And what's the little man's name?
Miko.
Miko. Good job, Miko. Yay! Good job, Miko. Who else wants to try? Brenda, since you set it up. Give it up for Brenda. Clap for Brenda. Clap for Brenda, since you set it up. Which one do you prefer? Oh, okay. Yes, we're going to have fun next. Do you want to drum or you want to dance? The drum. All right. Let's see how much she follows directions. All right, let's do it.
Do the same thing you do.
Except that at some point I'm going to change lanes. There you go. That's the rhythm. You good? You good? No, you stay there. You stay there. This is all you're doing, right? If you look at what I'm doing, you're going to miss out, right? Go Nico, 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 go Nico. Just keep doing that, just keep doing that. There you go. Yes. For Brenda. All right, let's have you back there. Yes, come on over. Brenda says we need some dancers. That's what she just told me. Who wants to dance? Come on and dance. There you go. What's your name, ma'am?
Beth.
Beth, yes. Give it up for Miss Beth. You hold it like this. There needs to be some air at the bottom, right? Yes. I can take. Wow! Thank you, ladies, and thank you, Miss Beth. So Beth brought in her little twist into it, and I just went along with the flow. She brought in her little twist into it. As you can see, that was different. Anybody else? I need a man. Yes, come on. Come on. And then, yes, I'm glad I'm seeing a man's hand. I need a man too, right? Let's do it. No, you come in first. So now we are going to add a song. We are going to sing along. And the song is something we're going to say in one of the African languages, and we will translate it, right? We will sing along. Your mom whispered to me that you are a great singer. You have a beautiful voice. Sing for us. You're just going to do the drumming? You'll do the drumming? All right. Now this is all we got to do. Now let me hear everybody sing along. Fonga alafia hashe hashe. Fonga alafia, hashe hashe. Fonga alafia, hashe hashe. Fonga alafia, hashe hashe. Fonga alafia, hashe hashe. Welcome, how are you? Hope you are fine. Welcome, how are you? Hope you are fine, Miko. Welcome, how are you? Hope you are fine, Miko. Miko, welcome, how are you? Hope you are fine. Miko, welcome, how are you? Hope you are fine. Miko, welcome, how are you? Hope you are fine. 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 Wisen, welcome, how are you? Hope you are fine. Miko seems to be fine. Hope you are fine. Welcome, how are you? Hope you are fine. Fonga alafia, hashe hashe. Now let's go to hand. Fonga alafia, hashe hashe. Fonga alafia, hashe hashe. Welcome, how are you? Hope you are fine. Fonga alafia, hashe hashe. Welcome, how are you? Hope you are fine. Welcome, how are you? Hope you are fine. You did great. She didn't want to sing, but she held it down on the drum, huh? Who else wants to try? We need some dances too, you know? Who else wants to try? Come on. Wonderful. Actually, I needed a man earlier. You had your hand up, but you had back to sat down, right? After the sister, can I get a man? And we'll close it out with that. What's your name again? Imijah.
Yes.
Pull the drum up like that. Let there be some air at the bottom. It's open, see? It has an open bottom. Yes. Okay. Yes. Together. The moment you start looking at my hand, you miss it. There you go. You ready? I can change. You good? Okay. I know, right?
Thank you.
Music connects you to the heart. Now, back in Africa, or actually, if it starts, I was worried that this was not going to sound like this because it was a little cold in here. If it is cold, these things shrink and it's much harder. If you ask all those who played it, they'll tell you it's very hard. Their hands are probably hurting for playing it for a few minutes because it's made of real goat skin, it shrinks. So how we actually treat it is by leaving it out in the sun to stretch out. They were in the vehicle and it helped to stretch out. Or we can put out a campfire, go Miko, and then have the drum over the fire to have it stretch. Good job. You want to play? Come on, sit down and play. Play. Thank you. Give it up for Miko. All right, thank you. Anybody has any questions? Anybody wants to pray? Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, Gabriela. Oh, you are coming? Come on. I'll let two of you play. No matter what, come you and Gabriela play. Come on. Okay. Now I want you to lead me. Play anything. That's how we're gonna go with you. You play anything, and I'll follow you.
No.
You are setting the pace now. You play.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't know what to do.
Play something. Just go. Now you just hold it there, okay? Gabriela and I brought in some reggae vibes in there, some dancehall stuff. There you go. Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you so very much. Thank you. Thank you. Oh, here it is.
Great job. Thank you.
Sure.
Gracias, Francisca, por su regalo, por sus palabras. Thank you, Francisca, for your words, for your love, your gift. And thank you, all of you. We made it through day one. How are folks feeling? Tomorrow we will have your event in the space again for those of you who didn't get a chance to go through and Costa. Highly recommend. So I want to just close this off with some important reminders. Tomorrow we have a full day. We will be opening up the space at 7:30. And President, Jewish Coalition for Immigrant Justice and Spokane Immigrant Rights Coalition will be up at that stage sharing how is it that they're building a defense line against deportation. I want to thank our interpreters. Thank you so much for being with us today. I want to remind all of you who have an interpretation equipment to please drop it off on your way out with Gabby. Tomorrow morning, you will be stopping by at the same table and picking up that equipment. Those of you who didn't get a chance to check in, please do so and let us know if you have any questions or support needs. And thank you everybody for such a powerful day of embodied solidarity, and get some rest and we'll see you tomorrow morning.
Thank you, Brenda. Again, my name is Ousman Joof from the Washington West African Center. I want to take this opportunity to invite you all to our Sounds of Africa Festival, happening on August 17th at the Garfield Park in Everett. I was very pleased to see our wonderful group do this performance. My staff and I were just smiling and talking about it, and it reminds us so much about our culture. It is very important that we keep our heritage, we keep our cultures, we teach the younger generation. That is really what gave birth to the Sounds of Africa Festival. It's an opportunity to enjoy African food, music, and fashion. On August 17th from 1 p.m. to 7 p.m. at the Garfield Park in Everett. You are all invited. I just wanted to share that. Thank you, Brenda, and everybody for the opportunity to share.
Thank you. So y'all are most welcome to stay. Now we have a space until 10.
Regarding student life issues. This year we helped champion House Bill 1889, which is undocumented licensing, where instead of a social security number, now people can use their ITIN number to apply for their LLC. That's something that my mom is able to do now. She's able to go get her certification for eyelashes, like she's able to do her, hair license, Another thing, one of the examples that I want to give, I had to testify in front of a bunch of old white people that have the power in regards to a specific bill specifically. I gave a student wrote a full paragraph of their experience within my university and how they were able to get paid. There's a lot of student jobs, we do work study, and students who are undocumented are not able to do that because there's no way to get them paid. My university was lucky enough to find a way around that by providing stipend help, which is completely different from that. But that testimony that she wrote for me, I said it, and all she said was, I'm not going to be able to work with my degree after I graduate. The least you can do is help us implement this bill so that I can get some sort of something, right? Yeah, that's it. But that's one of the things that we're consistently working on with the Washington Student Association, trying to implement all student life issues, and that's what we champion, and it passed. So now we're able to go to the DSHS and say, hey, I want to get my license. They shouldn't say no. They shouldn't ask for anything else. Yeah, I appreciate it.
I was on the panel yesterday, I shared some insights about that. West African languages are not written, and it makes it very hard for my community to have access to services. One of our criteria for in fact recruiting board members, staff, etc., includes their ability to speak a couple or multiple West African languages so that they can communicate with the community. However, that doesn't suffice for the lack of resources, enough resources. What we find ourselves doing is, from myself as executive director to all the other staff, would be busy providing language interpretation and translation services for the community, to the extent that we kind of miss out on our primary duties, our administrative responsibilities, and other tasks that we need to carry out, which is not sustainable, and by default ends up having a lot of consequences and ramifications. Because if I spend my whole day translating, or in Moussou's case, for example, as late as this Monday, we had a staff, a contracted attorney at our office that was helping the community to file their asylum, check on their cases, the status of their cases, and just doing consultation in a clinic. He spent his whole day translating for the Wolof-speaking clients that the attorney was seeing. So it's very frustrating for us sometimes. We have a community member, as we speak, we are in constant talk with the Department of Licensing. A community member needs a driver's license, meeting all the requirements, and the only reason why he still cannot do the test after 6 months is because they don't have an interpreter for him. We, as an agency, starting from myself, the person speaks my language, and several other staff, at least 4 or 5 people in our agency who can actually speak the same language. They said, no, we cannot do it. We have agencies that we contract with, 2 agencies that we contract with, and those are the only agencies that can do the interpretation. My staff went back and forth with them. Eventually, I had to request to have a meeting with their higher ups. Right now, we've had 2 meetings, getting to the 3rd one, to actually address this issue. They're telling us we cannot change it, it's beyond us. It comes back to the laws that are in place, whether at city, county, state, or federal level. There are still a lot of laws that hinder our work, that make it hard, because they're just going by what they have been told. There are, in fact, what I told them, which makes a lot of sense to them, is these agencies that you guys rely on, because they gave me the names of the agencies. I said, these are not West African agencies. These are people who have no idea about our culture, our languages, and any of the things that we're doing. They are just companies that just want to cash in. They just want to cash in. You tell them you need an interpreter, they will find somebody for you. Spanish, for example, is one of the languages that are written. Korean, Chinese. In Africa, you talk about languages like Amharic, or Swahili. I challenge anybody in this room to tell me a simple West African language that is written, that is adapted, accepted like any other language. And this is the reason, even when we go into courts to translate, the judge only asks us to swear. We get sworn in to affirm that everything we are saying is going to be, we will translate to the best of our ability from English to the language and from the language to English. And we get sworn in, and that's it. So there is no way that any of the parties or stakeholders, from the judge to everybody else in that room, can attest or can confirm if what the interpreter is saying is right or wrong. In the healthcare sector, we are facing the same thing. And these things are leading to wrong convictions of our community members. They are leading to wrong diagnosis of our community members and so many other challenges. So language access is key for my community. The issue is much deeper than is understood, and we don't have capacity enough, and would like to see what can be done to actually improve on that. Thank you.
Thank you. We want to do what we see as opportunities, because these challenges and threats, we're not just going to let them exist without us, wanting to transform them. So I hear that from each of these tables about the rise in the cost of living, knowing what to do and being prepared for if ICE comes. We hear, all the different things you all are sharing about education and access to education. So I just appreciate what everyone has shared, and I'll pass it back.
Thank you so much, Lou. And Micah was going to share something here, so,
yes, and I'll keep it very short. My name is Immigrant Smith. I'm here by way of Columbia Legal Services, and as I shared with you today, I have years of advocacy in doing reform for healthcare, making sure that all of our children have had access to Apple Healthcare. That all the time as well as in the school. What I wanted to share with regards to Columbia Legal is that what I think is missing up here oftentimes is the criminal justice system. We talked about folks that are being detained and ICE and things like that, but they're also in the Department of Corrections, Washington Corrections. And oftentimes just being there in our way of relationships, when you know people, you know them, so like, can you help my friend, this person's gonna get out and maybe get deported. And we figure out, like, from our hard work and our sweat equity, how do we support folks from being deported, but also how do we get them set up so that they can, if they have to be deported, they have resources. So I just want to say that that's some of the advocacy that the Columbia Legal Services does. In addition, they try to work on like more class action too. So when there's agencies like healthcare, education that are not following the policies that are already in place to make sure this happens, they can bring some legal push to get those agencies to do what they're supposed to do for our community. I just also want to say, like, regardless whether your status in boxes that we're placed in, that when you're poor and you don't have the resources, you don't have the understanding or the access, oftentimes the solution in our society is just to lock people up. And that is not a solution. We should be making sure people are thriving and giving them the best of their ability. So I just want to say, reach out to Columbia Legal Services, and I'm happy to make any connection, because what I have found is that the power is with the people, and it is our relationships of us networking here that we really support our community. Thank you.
For what we want to see. And then you will see here that this collective vision is what we heard from all of you who answered the survey. So all of this is data that you all shared back with us. And there are three very important parts of this vision that you all have for us. And I'll read a quote that after we were taking a look at the responses came up for us, which is, if you have come here to help me, you are wasting your time. But if you have come because your liberation is bound up with mine, then let us work together. And thinking how our liberation is bound up together, and only by all of us working together is how we will continue to move this forward. So when we hear all of the different stories that we're hearing from each of you, this is how we come together, because every single part is connected. And we heard three things from the respondents of this survey of how we want to move into this future. And the first one is statewide network connections. Immigrants across Washington feel more connected to community. Youth organizing and workshops are needed. Participatory engagement by immigrants and allies. Forming partnerships and collaborations, and having spaces for LGBTQ immigrant communities. So the first vision is a vision of a statewide connection. The second part of the vision is intersectional solidarity. Continue to build collective power in the immigrant community, working together rather than in competition. Form a shared collective vision for a thriving future for all immigrants, and where all immigrants are protected. So we have this vision that we can see here, where we can see beyond what is happening right now, where we are coming together. And the third part of this vision is immigrant justice and liberation. Ending all DOC-ICE collaboration and ICE presence in Washington, having social security and documents for all, local and state voting rights for all, abolition of all borders, ICE, and oppressive immigration systems, and shutting down the Northwest Detention Center. That is your vision, that is our collective vision. This is what we want. So we're going to go and see it one more time, and I'm going to ask you to please repeat this vision together so where we can have it and see it. So as we are continuing to vision this world, you said statewide connections. So can you please repeat with me? Statewide connections.
Statewide connections.
Intersectional solidarity movement.
Intersectional solidarity movement.
That's a long one. And we have immigrant justice and liberation.
Immigrant justice and liberation.
So we have this as an embodied solidarity, right? I think that imagine this beautiful transition of we have to do this work together as immigrants and folks who are not immigrants as we move this work forward. And especially yesterday, we had this conversation where there's a constant pitting up against our communities as immigrants, right? And new immigrants, also all kinds of, maybe we have an anti-Muslim sentiment that came a wave of, right? Anti-blackness sentiments that have risen up. So we have to fight against all of that to have a collective voice and a collective vision that includes the youth, where we listen to the youth, right? And we are guided by their voices. And the elders, thank you, yes. So this is the vision, this is the vision of collective liberation, the vision that we want and that we heard very clearly by each of you as we're moving into what we want. So we're thinking 5 years from now, we're thinking 10 years from now. In this vision, we have two different moments in the next 5 years where we're gonna have presidential elections, right? The one coming up and the one after. So we have to be prepared, we have to be together, we have to continue to work forward. And how are we going to be doing this? Organizing. And in any space, I will say that organizing is how we will change the world. Because this is when we're coming together and building our collective power. So this is what we're doing here today. We want to listen from you. What are the opportunities to organize that Wisen as a network that we all need to focus on for the next 5 years? And from your responses, we heard 3 things that are already happening and 2 things that are new that we don't have an organizing table for yet. And yesterday I was talking to a couple of you and you told me, actually, we're doing this work and I don't think this work may be up here. So this is what we're here together to see and build that vision together collectively. So let's take a look at some of the opportunities that came up. So there's a lot. There's a lot of opportunities, but these ones are the ones that we heard the most voices. And we're going to take a look at here, and these are the organizing opportunities that the network has told us. And the first one is, we're here all of the 5 ones. And I would like for somebody to help me out to read them. Who would like to help me read here? Okay, thank you. And as we take it,
the first one is universal health care and health insurance expansion. Housing and justice for all immigrants, access to funding, education, and economic opportunities, immigrant workers' rights and protection, immigrant reform, and pathways to citizenship.
Thank you so much. Things that we heard from you. And you can see that there are some in there that have been part of the work. And you may notice the housing justice for all immigrants is one that you may not have seen yet. That is coming up very, very strongly for the network. And so we have a question that we would like to ask you as we take a look at this. And under each of them, we have more specific details. For example, for the universal health care and health expansion, we heard this following things. And I'm going to be moving
Raise your hand if you would like to help me read. And Israel is helping with the mic. Over here. Thank you so much. Also, if you want to read in Spanish, that's okay. Also, I would like to ask some folks to read in Spanish because we can see the text there as well. So we're going to start. Yes. English or Spanish?
Atención médica universal y expansión del seguro de salud. La primera, servicios de salud mental gratuitos y culturalmente apropiados. La segunda, aumentar la financiación para la expresión de salud o Apple Health. La tercera, acceso a servicios de salud reproductiva y tratamientos del cáncer.
Muchas gracias. Let's move on to the next one.
Estabilización y límites al aumento de rentas, asistencia de la renta, alojamiento y vivienda a residentes, inmigrantes y hogar, aumento de viviendas para inmigración de bajos ingresos.
Muchas gracias. Exigimos una vivienda digna. Vamos a continuar con el siguiente.
Opportunities. The first one is funds for immigrant community-based nonprofits. Second is guaranteed basic income for undocumented residents. Third is low interest loans for small businesses. Fourth is financial aid. Fifth is access to equitable education. And the last one is multilingual education and language justice.
Thank you so much. This is another one that also has
network, equitable pay, access to work permits, workforce development, unemployment insurance, and worker union development and education.
Thank you so much.
Y la estabilización de DACA, agilizar el proceso de asilo, acceso a representación legal, fondos para gastos legales, clínicas legales para inmigrantes recién llegados.
Yes. Opportunities for your community right now. If you cannot find it, please let us know. The back of that paper has all of the details. The front is, now we're going to go into groups of 4. And the question for your group of 4 is, how will this opportunity contribute to increasing this immigrant network's collective power? So as you're thinking of these 3 that you choose, in the group of 4, we're going to talk about how can this opportunity or these 3 opportunities that you have can increase our collective power. I'm going to leave the question out there. And let's go ahead and be in groups of 4. I think most tables are about groups of 4 or 5. So let's sit in our tables and talk about how this opportunity can contribute to our collective power. Okay. Thank you for the question. Is it one of the opportunities? Let's talk about the opportunities that we picked together and see how these 3 opportunities can contribute. Yes, thank you. Okay, so we're doing the question, and yes, you can find another table. If your table has more than 4, you can work into groups. Thank you so much.
You would just answer that question up there together, so that'll be your discussion. So you might bring up healthcare or something else, and you just share how will this contribute to increasing the immigrant network's collective power. So thinking of how this will impact your community and the larger statewide community of immigrants.
Perfect, thank you.
That's no problem.
Big time.
Because the solutions do it for themselves. Here's the question about these things. It doesn't.
There's somebody who's penny pinching,
Yeah.
and they're looking for groups that they can exclude to save money.
job. Now, Mexican is boosting up with a certain segment of the last election. It's a phenomenon. And if we stop working, even for a week,
Then you walk through.
If you can see your hand. Thank you so much. We would love to hear from some of your tables and what you were able to talk about and what you mentioned. Who would like to share from that table? I would love to hear from this table. Like, the conversation was so good. This table as well, all tables, but raise your hand if you would like to share. Okay, we're going to start from this back table. And you point me out there. Okay, so we're doing
positive. And so I feel like that's something, some way, shape, or form would make a huge impact, extremely on the immigrant community, but I think even across the board to everyone, because, you know, you can end up getting $70,000 just moving into an apartment, and I think this maybe used to get a car or put it up in the house. And so that's something that we need to limit those kinds of environments for people to even get into a place, because that is one of the main barriers that it is. And we see families that are 2-3 families sharing one house. And so being able to remove those barriers so that they can call their own place a home, that would make a huge impact. Another thing is holding bigger corporations that own properties accountable to a higher standard of maintaining healthy living environments for our tenants. I have witnessed and have heard many testimonies from our clients of them saying there's mold in my place, there's cockroach infestation, and we have other tenants that have smoke, and my kids have asthma, and so a lot of them, they're aware that they need this place and that they don't really have much of an option. So they kind of just tell them, well, you can go and pay out the rest of your term here, or you can just kind of deal with it. And unfortunately, a lot of our clients do have to deal with it, or they'll come and try to find some kind of legal aid help. So I think it's very important with how much rent is rising and everything, that it is important to hold these bigger corporations accountable of making sure, hey, you're expecting the tenants and everyone to pay for this space. Well, then we require you to keep this a healthy space for these people. Because in turn, an unhealthy space then leads to medical problems. Then that leads to, okay, am I going to go to the hospital or to the doctor and have a bill for myself and for my kids? Or am I going to, have to not be able to buy food just to be able to pay for a place to just not be in the streets? Or am I going to go ahead and get this taken care of, but then come back home to then get sick again? And I think that's something that, again, goes hand in hand with everything. And I think it's very important to create opportunities for smaller landlords that, do want to help the community and do offer these places. And sometimes, not just immigrants, but even everyone themselves as a community, we face through different and hard turmoils in life, or we're struggling. Life happens, things happen. And so there are going to be times where, we're not going to be able to afford paying the rent. And especially with a lot of our people in our immigrant community, there's anything that can happen, especially for seasonal workers. They depend on the seasons to be able to make their income. And they'll try to find a way, whether it be borrowing money or, doing end jobs to be able to come up with that money. But things happen, and so being able to provide some kind of funding security for smaller landlords to encourage them to join us and being able to offer more opportunities for immigrants to establish themselves, I think would increase the opportunity for immigrants to be able to call places their home that are safe, that will be a healthy environment for immigrants in our community. And so that's basically
porque fue muy limitada esta vez. Muchos tuvieron la oportunidad de tener el acceso, pero nos gustaría que se hiciera un poco más grande para que más personas inmigrantes puedan recibir esta atención. Y uno de los también puntos que hablamos fueron de los derechos, protección de los trabajadores migrantes. que como sabemos, muchos migrantes a veces no tenemos derecho en los trabajos. Sufrimos maltrato, discriminación. Muchos nos hemos lastimado en los trabajos, trabajando, haciendo trabajos duros, porque los trabajos, la mayoría de que hacemos los migrantes, son trabajos duros, físicamente duros, de muchas jornadas y horas de trabajo, que a veces tenemos hasta 2 trabajos para poder mantener nuestra vivienda y dar a nuestros hijos y llevar un plato de comida a nuestros hijos, porque a veces no calificamos para las ayudas que a veces hay en el sistema. Y es importante porque hay muchos también inmigrantes que se lesionan y no tienen derecho a un tratamiento digno. Hay trabajadores que se lesionan y no pueden volver a regresar a trabajar. Es una lucha con LNI para poder recibir un tratamiento digno. Cuando de nuestro trabajo se nos quita supuestamente para un seguro médico que jamás vemos mientras no tengamos un estatus migratorio.
Pues también uno de los puntos que en lo personal tiene mucho peso para mí sería una reforma migratoria y camino a la ciudadanía, porque esto nos daría el poder de votar, elegir a nuestros representantes y escogeríamos personas que son aliados de las reformas que queremos hacer. Y si no son aliados, pues nosotros podemos correr por la oficina, nosotros podemos competir y queremos eso, ver a nuestra gente, a nuestros líderes, queremos representación. Y si ellos no nos escuchan, pues entonces tenemos que poner a nuestra gente. Y teniendo una reforma en la legislación, podemos cambiar todo, podemos tener acceso a fondos educativos, podemos hacer todos los cambios que necesitemos.
Ku yoddu sa xat te quality jas na ñoy yor seen cumbukaay tur day uyu borom jas na pire soo ko bëggee fii si biir Gambia bi dawal foofu sa quality jas na your number 1 stop shop. Ana sama jigéen ñi dama bëgg ngeen jox ma seen nopp garme yi ndaxte quality jas na amal nañ leen ay til yu toj daala poos abaaya yu yiiw waaye it amal nañ leen ay boreda yu rafet boreda yoo xam ne pour góor ñi la ak pour jigéen ñi amal nañ leen body scrub yi nga xam ne nii dafay defar seen yaram bam nice waaye it fàttewuñ fa diw yi. Ana sama jeeg yu pare yi quality jas na amal nañ leen fa andi cuuraay yu neex house spray ak bépp xeetu baax pour seen biir néeg. dama ne atum ren jii ku sa jëkkër mere ku ne yow la neex ndaxte quality jas na ñëw na si dëkk bi pour defar sëy yi. Makeup artist yi bàyyi leen gannaaw ñu ngi leen fa amal ay makeup product yu quality waxu leen léegi nii foofa sa Westfield jàkkaarloog monument bi wala nga jokkoo quality jas na si 250 01 24 ak quality jas na